Hi, everybody. My name is Evan Radisic. I'm the Executive Director of the Cloud Software Association. Thanks a lot for joining me for another masterclass. Today with us, we have Cory Snyder from Maropost. He's actually one of our board members. I'll let him introduce himself a little bit in a sec, but a couple of items. First of all, I think we're lucky to have Cory part of this thing. Cory's been Director of Global Partner Sales in Infusionsoft, which is, I think, Keep now, Director of Global Channel Sales at ActiveCampaign, and most recently, VP of Partnerships at Maropost. So he's been around the block. He's done this channel sales partnerships scaling several times from scratch, building it out. So he's been around the block. He knows what he's doing, and he's going to tell us kind of his secret sauce, secret formula. There is a kind of a, some creative aspects to kind of building these things out from scratch, especially when it's an early stage company. So we're going to get into it. These things can be a little bit awkward on Zoom. So if you do have a question, just awkwardly jump in there. There's no way about it. We'll also save some time at the end, but I'm going to hand it off to Cory. Cory, do a little intro, set the tone, and we'll keep it casual and people jump in. Thanks.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks. I'm excited to share some of the thoughts with you all. I did what I could to try to consolidate all of these thoughts, and I hope they're absorbable, if that's the right word. And also at the end, I'll give you my contact information. We could jump on a call and kind of go through your stuff and see if I can help you there. But what I ultimately attempted to do is hit three main areas as far as what we did specifically for Maripost's partner program. Now, some of these things do apply to programs that are kind of already built out, already kind of in the process and moving a bit. And some of them are established programs. Like I'll share what we did with ActiveCampaign, where it was an established program, but there were still some very missing elements that we implemented. So I'll go over those and you guys should be able to see my screen perfectly. So again, agenda, how to get your entire company to be partner educated and bought in. Okay, so the second piece is understanding what data you should be tracking and why to define success. And that one, again, we can do a deeper dive later. How to simplify and automate your onboarding to grow fast. This is an area specifically that we focused on and why it's on the phone too. He was experienced it as well at ActiveCampaign. That was a very massive missing element that we're able to kind of consolidate. So I'll do a quick intro on myself. Again, Cory Snyder. Evan did a great job as it was, but been in MarTech SaaS for about 14 years, built and developed partner programs for small agencies from Infusionsoft to ActiveCampaign and now Maropost. 10 years specifically dedicated to only partnerships. Obviously, that means I have a passion for partnerships and specifically relationships. A lot of the people that I work with know that I prefer to use the word relationship over partnership. Because eventually we may generate revenue together, but I want to have the relationship first. Family man, RVer, and horrible golfer. So I'm working on that. All right, so jumping into it, how to get your entire company partner educated and bought in. This is we've seen all the cross-beam stuff. We've seen everything that's kind of out there around like, hey, it takes 6 months. You got to get executive buy-in and all that good stuff. So we'll talk a little bit about what I did specifically to get that buy-in at different organizations. But the question I always like to ask first is like, why? Why are you bought in? Why are partnerships important to you? Why should it be important to the company? Because if you can't answer these things, then you're never going to get buy-in. You're never going to be able to share the story and explain what's going on. So why are partners? Who are our partners? And what do they do? And how do partners impact the company? The key word there is how do partners impact the company? So we'll do a deeper dive in this as well, because I think we have a missing element. And I mentioned this in one of my slides, it's like partners get associated with new business and new business alone. That is so far from the truth. And people ask me why. I always say, why not? Like, why not have partnerships? Even if you just simply submitted a customer referral program, why not? Why not ask for referrals? Why not automate that process? Okay. So here's why. And this first line, if you guys are not speaking to this, I would recommend you do this. And anytime you talk to somebody, partners are an extension of your marketing, sales, and support teams. The sooner you can keep saying that, the sooner your leadership starts to say that. And the sooner everybody gets around the fact that partners are not competition. They're here to help you scale and grow. Partners evangelize. When you do it right, they're evangelizing positive. When you don't, then negative, which I also talk about in another slide. Partners open up markets, verticals, niches, regions. So if you look at ActiveCampaign and also Keep, we entered EMEA, so Ireland. We entered that's where we put our office, and we entered APAC. Long before we put an office there, we were generating $2 to $3 million, and we had 400 to 500 partners. They allowed us to kind of position ourselves in there. Partners allow us to land and expand in a higher velocity. I'm probably preaching to the choir. Partners allow you to accelerate growth. And the reason why I'm sharing this information is this is the information the rest of the company needs, right? Partners recruit partners through social sharing and much, much more, right? When this is done, instead of you telling them your why, they will come up with their own why. And that's a big important piece there. So one of the things that I did as far as getting my company educated on partner programs is within 30 days, I built out a simple PowerPoint. And the PowerPoint was why partnerships, which is this slide. They're an extension of our marketing, sales, and support teams, okay? Our partner programs, so what do they do? So who do they impact? So I'll give an example, and I'll show this in another slide, but what do affiliates impact? What do referral partners impact? What do agencies impact? And what do our integration partners impact? And the reason why that's important is, again, they get tied to new business alone. I then created a deep dive on each program. What does each program do? It's just one simple slide. I shared their IPP, their ideal partner profile. It's an agency. They have 2 to 3 employees. They generate 1.5 million in revenue. This gets them the opportunity to understand who our partners are all the way down to the core. How does the partner get paid? So the company can understand, how do we pay our partners from a one-time to a commission to a recurring? And what are the partner needs? And then I ask them for something, and I follow up on this ask. Okay, and I'll show that later. Now, the other piece is executive buy-in. And this is way more important than a lot of people think, but the reason why it's extremely important is if you can start at the top and you can get them bought in, that will disseminate and it will spread like wildfire, okay? But it's not, executive buy-in is not the only thing, but it is extremely beneficial for acceleration. And the reason why is all of your executives have been around the block. They've been in the ecosystem for 10 plus years. They have a ton of connections. And this ties into the ask. When I was working with Ross, and Ross and I worked together to launch the partner program, I had an ask for him. He kept asking me the same question. What can I do for you, Cory? What can I do for you, Cory? And my response was, you're on LinkedIn a lot. So when you come across somebody that could be a good partner, just send me the LinkedIn. Or shoot them a message, even better, shoot them a message and ask them if they're open to a partnership. And Ross did that. So that was a huge benefit of just asking. And then on the next leadership meeting, I asked all of our executive leadership team to do the same. All of a sudden, Dennis, who's our chief privacy officer, all of a sudden he's got an email with 20 people on it that I should reach out to. He sent me 5 introduction emails and so on and so forth. And that's the reason why. Once you can help them understand the why, how it impacts their job or their day-to-day or their employees, now they're going to get bought in, right? So get your leadership, which includes you. This is the other step. Get on as many podcast webinars as possible. Because if you can share it, they can share it. And what gets shared and what you're talking about is partnerships, your partner program. And so we try to do that as much as we possibly could, tap into each other's networks and share like crazy. Once you have that, you start sharing the data. What worked? What didn't work? What are the next steps as far as needs? And again, if you don't ask, you won't get. And you won't be on the top of their mind. We're all salespeople in the end of the day, and we should always continue to be salespeople. And that includes selling our leadership on partnerships and selling the rest of the company on partnerships.
Cory, I got a question for you. On this part of it, like what I've seen in the past, like is, because I mean, there's different, like you kind of said yourself, they have experience, like whether it's the CEO or any of the C-suite, like, you know, Are you using kind of anecdotal stories to kind of keep it in mind and say like, we did this partner, here's a cool thing that happened, here's how it impacted CS, or here's how it impacted the sales team, or so it's kind of
Yep.
story driven as opposed to like, here's the, KPI that was met or whatever. Like, is it more story driven or more KPI driven or combination, or like what's kind of the real kind of day-to-day stuff you can use kind of tap into their mind like weekly?
Good question. You're actually ahead of me. But yes, you're exactly right. It's all story based. So we do this, we call it, now it's a bi-weekly. We do a bi-weekly wrap up. And I get the chance to get a quick 5 minutes every single bi-weekly wrap up. And then when it's my turn, then I get a full 30 minutes. But what I do is I showcase a partner. Like, hey, here's a partner, and here's the customer that partner brought in or influenced, and this is how much revenue it was, and here's why it was impactful. And so I can make that connection from right, and just in that example, I can make a connection with partners, sales, and now success. Right. And then once I have that, I can then tie it into the numbers. What was the sales cycle? How long did they sell with us? How much revenue was generated, and how much time was spent to generate the revenue? Right now, we're at about an hour to 2 calls with our agency deals, and we're averaging 40K and about a week and a half sales cycle.
Yeah, I found that
good.
story-driven stuff works so much better because it's like, when you're driven on numbers are important, but they're not memorable. It's like, hey, it's generating revenue or something. It doesn't really, but it's same as like remembering somebody's name. If you can use it in a sentence, so it's like kind of like,
yeah,
you can remember a story more so than a number. So if you can say, oh yeah, like remember that partner from wherever that did that thing for CS, that was kind of cool, and like it's easily remembered. Like you actually remember it, not like accurately, but more than a number. But you get a few of those in the works. It's in their portfolio of stories that they're drawing from. So because they have sales stories, they got CS stories, they got product stories. You gotta give them partnership stories to remember. It's
exactly.
so easy, yeah.
Yeah, when you tie the numbers to the story, that's what the executive leadership and your bosses and everybody else see. So it's like the story the company remembers, the individuals remember, the numbers is everybody else that cares about the numbers. So you just tie them together. Thank you. Yeah, the other
Evan and Cory, I'm sorry, just jumping in really quick. Cory, first though, you and I are meeting later today, so I'm Justin at Sales Message. Nice to meet you. And then you let me know, for the sake of the presentation, if you'd like me to write down my questions relative to where we're at, or if you want questions as we go.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think we'll get them at the end because I'm probably going to answer them. There's a good chance. So, and worst case scenario, we have a call later today. So, the other thing is that I wanted to make sure whether we talk about is like when you tweak a program or you rebuild a program, you should always get others involved. Like in sales, we call this transfer of ownership. When I can get the prospect to tell me the numbers, it becomes their numbers, not my numbers. So it's the same concept when you build a program or you're relaunching a program or you're working on a program, pull other people in. And I always like to tell them like, hey, it's an opportunity for me as I'm in front of the trees and I can't see the forest. So you pull other people in, it now becomes their program versus my program or the partner team's program. So the more you can get other people involved, the better it's going to be. Now, that doesn't mean you have to do exactly what they say. That's the process. One of those ways is by building a simple program guide. And the program guide is nothing crazy. It's literally just your 2 to 3 paths with your benefits. As you can see here, like silver, gold, platinum, here are all kind of the benefits that go alongside that. Here's the different program. And this is public information. We use Confluence. So I just load this up in a Confluence and people can see it or leverage it, but I can drive everybody to it. Like, oh, I have a question about what do they get paid? Great, go to the Confluence page. And this is a simple way to get others involved specifically on the benefits. What are the benefits that come into the program? And what benefits can we add to the program based on the tiers? Once you actually launch the program, and I've done relaunches, you name it, they all apply. We do a simple PR announcement, okay? We email it to our customers. If you have partners already included in the launch materials, tag the crap out of them because it spreads like wildfire. And then you ask them to actually do the sharing. And again, that's partially the reason why we were able to grow from 0 to over 350 partners in 6 months, was because we were tagging partners like crazy. New partner in the ecosystem, new partner. I know White and I are connected on social. He was probably like, man, this is so annoying. All I'm seeing are these partnerships that are coming out, these integrations that are coming out. And that was 100% intentional. I wanted to change the narrative or flood the market with a different view on what was actually going on. And that also is a way of getting your executive leadership aligned. If you can get them to do an interview with one of your partners and post it, it completely changes the narrative and the way that people look at it. Okay. Here is exactly what we give a partner for the PR announcement. It is stupid simple. It's literally 10 well, not even questions, it's like 9 questions. We take this information, we ask them to fill out their parts, and then we go and take it, and they take it and write up the PR around it. But we make it super simple to just execute a ton of PR announcements. We post them on PR Underground, but we don't try to make it super difficult for anybody. Okay. And the executive alignment here comes where I get a quote from Ross. Every single one. I ask him for a quote. Now, again, it becomes his PR announcement. Now he's posting it, so on and so forth. Now, throughout that entire process, I mentioned there's an ask. So in the end of the PowerPoint, I ask the company, and I ask them this every single month. Every time we do a bi-weekly meeting, I ask them for the same thing. Spread the word on the launch. And if my leadership team is not doing that, if my the other members of the ELT are not doing that, I call them out in our meetings. I say, hey, can you please share this? It's been a while since you shared it. Can you drive your teams to share this? And you come up with, you create a small little snippet, if you can, that they can use every single time. Throw in a new partnership, throw in a new PR announcement, whatever it may be. But this will help you with the executive alignment. It helps you with the education of the company. Now when the company's sharing, they now again get to be a part of the actual partner program. And I was literally calling people out in bi-weeklies, like, thank you for sharing, and giving those props publicly, if you will. Okay, this is a big one. A lot of us don't ask exactly how others can help or ask them for their buy-in. The other thing is that goes along with this is I tell every single person in the company that I talk to, I'm not the only one that's responsible to share our branding. You are as well. Like the growth of the company is not just sales and marketing and partnerships. It is your job too. An easy way to do that is by sharing this. You all have seen this. This is, the MarTech landscape, and we're at 8,000 today. There's a lot of companies out there that we're trying to vie for attention. There's a lot of companies, a lot of these companies are connected to the rest of the employees in your company. We're at about 300 now. That's a lot of connections, a lot of people that can see these posts and these things about your partner program. If you can get the buy-in there where they understand how it impacts them. Okay. We're going to jump into numbers now, kind of the numbers and KPI, or the numbers that I specifically look at, and I'll tie it all back to this. I'll tie it all back to the actual executive buy-in and the specific buy-in of the actual company. But knowledge is power. The more they know, the more they understand. The more they understand, the more they speak about your partners in program. The more they speak about your partners in program, the more they are bought in, and it just keeps going and going and going. I am probably super, super annoying to most people in the Maropost company. And the reason why is because I talk about partners all the time, but I connect it to sales, I connect it to support, I connect it to success with stories. And I ask I'm not the one, to Evan's point, I'm not the one actually telling the stories. I ask success to tell the stories, to put it in their bi-weekly wrap-ups. And I ask others to do the same. I'm going to throw in 3 quick tips, just stupid things that I do that have actually led to some partnership stuff. And one of those is at the bottom of my email signature, I put, in addition, happen to know anybody we should partner with. And you would be surprised on how many people reply that say, oh, sorry, I don't know anybody, but let me do this. And this, and Ross is on some of these emails. He's like, oh, it's just his email signature, no pressure. But it's stupid, but it totally works. And you get
I saw
people
it today, and I started making a note for our meeting. Seriously, it worked.
There you go. Yeah. And yeah, because you replied back and said, I'll put a note to talk about referrals in your email. And so it totally works if it does feel personal, and I've gotten several partnerships out of it, or a direction of which I should go for partnerships. So understand the data. And again, I might be preaching to the choir for most of you guys. These are the things that we dialed in aggressively at ActiveCampaign. And it was, again, very intentional. We wanted to focus on new business. I wanted to see what the expansion rate was on partner deals across the different platforms. I wanted to understand what contraction was across the platforms. And I wanted to understand what the churn was across all my programs and platforms. And when I say platforms, I mean programs. And the reason why, and we'll go into some of this stuff, but in simple terms, your partners play a role in one or all four of those groups. If you look at affiliates or trusted advisor referral partners, they are an extension of your marketing team. They evangelize, they put their links out. We give them monthly content that they go crazy and they share. Agencies and resellers, they're an extension of, partially you could say the marketing team, but mostly it's the sales team, support and success teams, right? They bring you deals. They onboard and manage tier 1 support a lot of times, right? And the integrations, add-ons, and app partners, they are very similar, in my opinion, to the trusted advisors. They do handle some of that marketing piece of the pie, but what they mostly do, and this is how I speak to it in the company, is integrations create sticky customers. And I say another one of my slides, but at Infusionsoft now keep 3 integrations, and the churn was like 0.0001. They were like crazy sticky. And so that is why 90% of the time, I will launch an integration type relationship and get as many integrations as possible, just for that reason. And I think I just said this, like what I've seen is on the agency side, at least for us on the agency side, Maropost, we're about on average, our customers are worth about 90,000 in the ARR. Our partners deals are probably closer to 50K, right? The biggest difference though, is it's 45-day sales cycle, 60-day sales cycle, and it's about a 2-week sales cycle for agency deals. So there's an offset there. The other thing that we see is that partner deals, and this applied to ActiveCampaign as well, is that they accelerated much faster than the direct deals. Okay. And this is again because agencies sell them what they need and then they grow them, right? And it's a simple question, is why would you not want to see that report on that? And this ties into incentives, and we'll talk about that as well here in a minute. But if you don't know the stats, if you don't know how your partners react, if you don't know, if you look at seasonality and you understand like, this is where new business comes in, this is where our new business drops, but our expansion happens to increase. You can start tying a lot of those incentives and those different things to seasonality even. But you have to know the numbers, right? Obviously, we all know LTV to CAC and how important that is. Margins are super important when we look at the numbers when it comes to expanding our teams and growing our teams. Obviously, with partners, marketing cost goes down, given that partners generate the leads. And obviously, this as far as our ability to, again, margins, generate and push headcount. They create stickier customers. These are all, by the way, to Evan's earlier point, these are all story opportunities, right? So like, oh, this took us a week and a half, but we got 40K, or this customer was about to cancel, but because we brought in, because they're integrated with, but because they're integrated with Gorgeous, they didn't churn. You know, Gorgeous jumped in and helped to save the customer, whatever it may be. You kind of get the idea. Co-marketing, blog swap, information and data, they sell, bringing your CAC even lower and increasing your margins, blah, 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 blah. You guys kind of get the idea, right? It's all numbers I think you guys are talking about or wanting to know. And unfortunately, you walk into companies and I guarantee you, they don't have these. And so it's your opportunity to start driving those numbers and understanding those numbers, because they all tie into, again, how do those partners impact your different groups: sales, marketing, support, success. Okay. Now, it's not only to prove to partners that they're a solid option, obviously to drive revenue and growth, even though obviously we know that's very, very true. But partners open up verticals and niches. Again, as mentioned, ActiveCampaign, or niches. We opened up literally regions and markets with partners. We allowed them to go in, support them, and drive it. We may put one head count there from a partner manager perspective, but a lot of times we didn't even do that. We just put partners in the region. Partners drive and accelerate your brand. If done right, they will promote the crap out of it. If you look at Keep's partner program, it is literally a cult following. I talk to those partners and sometimes they don't even like Keep, but they're wearing their crap everywhere. They're literally wearing their shirts and their hats and they're like pissed off at Keep and they're wearing their swag everywhere and pictures, everything. So even if they're not happy with you, if you do it right, they can still promote your brand. And again, this all needs to be showcased to market to your company. If you have partners showcasing your brands, bring it up, talk about it, discuss it. If you can get the other departments to discuss it, that is the key. So here's where Evan kind of talked about sharing. I like to keep it super, super simple. In company meetings, I'll drop information about partners. I'll say, hey, we got a new partner, go check them out. And then if I can do it right, I'll get success to talk about how a customer was saved by a partner, or how sales was struggling to sell this customer and they brought in an agency that specializes in casinos. We have a partner that specializes in casinos, and so we can pull them in to the equation and speed up that sales cycle. I usually send out a one-pager that's just like, hey, here's what's going on in the world of partners to the company. I post it in our Slack or our Teams channel. Social media, we have a thing called Feature Friday, and I try to take that spot every single Friday with a partner. Every Friday, I'm literally sending crap to marketing all the time, like, hey, we should showcase this partner, and here's why. And obviously, the sales and marketing updates, they say of the partner. Top integration of the month is a good one, and the reason why is because I share this with the partner. I say, hey, we have a integration with a loyalty platform. And they went and we did a PR announcement. They're doing a webinar with us and everything. And I did top integration of the month, and I showcased that to the company. And I told the partner, and I sent him a screenshot of this that I was sharing with the 300 employees. And he was so pumped. And I share that with all of the partners. I send an email once a month to all of our partners as well. And I share with them that. I share with them also how much commission have we paid out for the year, because I want to drive them to also do a lot of this sharing. I let them know how many new partners we have and all that good stuff. But if I can tell the partners and showcase them, I've done this so many times. I've sent a screenshot to an agency and like, hey, I'm showcasing you and your customer today. And they love it, eat it up. Some other stats that I look at: number of partners per partner manager. This is a sensitive subject because we try to squeeze as much as we can out of a partner manager, and eventually we start losing revenue. HubSpot, it maxes at 60. As soon as you hit 60, they bring somebody else in, and these are active partners. So you need to define your active partner. But once they hit 60, they don't go pretty far past that as far as that's concerned. Region success. Does the region do expansion? Yes or no? Who is the top partners? What are they doing? And who's doing the selling in the partnership? That's a question I ask every single one of our top partners. Who's doing the selling? And the reason why is because it could be the sales reps, it could be the CEO, it could be all kinds of different individuals, but the direction of which we look as far as we help them changes. Number of integrations per customer. This is one of the harder ones that I've ran into because you're now tracking, most companies are tracking API calls, but they're not tracking necessarily the customer to the API call. And once you can get an understanding of the number of integrations per customer, you can work backwards and you can understand what's our churn with one integration, with two integrations and three integrations. And then you can share that. And then if you know that churn gets reduced at 3, you can go to your success team and say, hey, by the way, we reduced churn with integrations. Would you like to know more about our integrations? And you get the success team to drive integrations. And now they're bought in because it hits their number. kind of got a theme here, right? It's like everything, all three of these things I'm going to talk about all roll into getting the company behind you. Here are some other goals and some KPIs, if you will, that I look at as well. And these are, again, super simple. Most of the time, my KPIs, if you look at them, are KPIs to me are things that you want to be done for the end result. So if you're wanting new partners, what are all the things that line up to getting a partner? Or if you're wanting a deal, what are all the things that are lining up to get the deal, the new customer? Right, so recruited partners, new revenue, expansion, retention, new customers, number of active partners. Those are the ones I heavily look at, and I report back to our executive team. Here's another tip, and this one is kind of a funny one, if you will. But one of the tactics we've used over the last 6 or so years at different companies I work for in hunting and recruiting partners was going to their page and seeing if I could find any pissed off people that are complaining or not happy. And a lot of times, I think probably 9 out of 10 times, they were partners. And we would reach out to those partners and say, hey, we'd love to have, we don't even reference the fact that they're mad. We just reference, hey, we'd love to partner and have that conversation. Would you be open to it? We had probably 75% of them say, yeah, we would be open to it. Now, you're not obviously starting off on the best foot, and it's probably a little bit more like a rebound, but it was still a good way to get some really good partners. And it was easy. Not a ton we had to do there outside of looking at our competition's Twitter is mostly the one that we attacked. Moving on to how to simplify and automate your onboarding to grow fast. The reason why I even put this in here is because I was forced to. I mean, in all transparency, like I got hired on with Maropost and was like, all right, we're going to build a partner program. It was me. So I had to automate the entire onboarding process. I didn't have a choice, which was good. It was a forcing function to kind of figure it out and then leveraging some of the things that were in the past that we did. So one of the things, although it might seem dumb, is I built out an application and I asked very specific questions, which is, I don't know why I clicked on country, but which of the following best describes you? And it broke down what best describes them. And then they can add some additional context there. How familiar are you with Maropost? How do you plan to market Maropost? You get some really interesting information from people on how they plan to actually go to market. And it also tells you how much they know about what they've done in the past. How would you define success for our partnership? That is a great question that we've seen some really awesome responses. We ask them how big their audience is. And again, what will you need to be successful? So this ties into also what materials you should be creating in your partner program. We create a ton of stuff that we don't actually know if the partner needs or will even use. And I've been there hundreds and thousands of times. The other thing is be intentional, which is, again, a little bit of a buzzword, but I create just a 30, 60-day plan with my partners. What do I want from them, and what should they expect from me? And it's pretty simple, right? A lot of it has to do with marketing, pushing, social posts, email to their database, email to our database. We leverage partner page for our directory and getting them on that, the whole 9 yards. And I just basically break it all down. And this is connected to also marketing. Marketing has a say in this. I meet with marketing, I meet with sales, and I say, what would you like to see? And I basically drive that with them. They co-create that with us, okay? If you don't establish a baseline of your onboarding, you don't know what's working or not working. So I build this out. This changed literally every single month for the first 6 months because partners didn't do certain things. And so we lost momentum, right? The other thing is through the next 6 months, we were able to come up with pre-written announcement and content that we could give our partners. And we dialed this in to see who's actually doing it, who's not doing it. We shared our ICP with our partners. We said, hey, here's our ideal customer profile. Here's a match. And then we worked on figuring out how does that match their database. And then we did a breakdown of their products. What are the pains that we solve? So they know, okay? 30, 60-day plan to me is similar to the playbook that I talked about probably a year ago or so. Okay, and then the emails. What I try to do with the emails, and again, this has to be all automated, so I'm trying to get as much out as possible, is initially I created my own personal video walkthroughs, which the video walkthrough here is our portal. And I basically am pushing as much content, as much things I want them to do. But as you can see here, I'm asking them to announce the partnership. Some will, some won't, but I can check that. So when I get on a phone call with them, I can ask them, hey, did you get the chance to share your information, to share the excitement about our partnership? If you don't do a PR announcement. The other thing that I do is I send out, and then so obviously day 1, day 2, the reason why I do day 2 is I'll show you in a minute. I'll follow up at 30 days if they're inactive. Inactive more than 30 days, new customers, 10 customers, number of clicks, all of that kind of good stuff that can help drive them to be engaged, right? So this email, the only reason I created email 2 is that I just had too much crap to send them that I wanted them to absorb. It's the only reason. But what I did is I just named it Dang I Forgot. So Blaze at PartnerStack is was our account manager, whatever they call them, success manager. She actually signed up for our program to test it, and she got this email, and she literally replied to me and was like, oh, no worries, it's all good. And she's like, oh crap, you got me. I actually tricked her. She actually thought this was a legit email, and it wasn't automated. And that was kind of the goal, right? And then here's kind of the first customer. But I literally just try to automate this as much as possible. You don't have to use your PRM, you can use your CRM as well. I mean, it really, the goal is, for me, was to just get as much information to them as possible, and then I'll schedule a call with them, and if I have to, I'll walk them through this stuff, but they have it, okay? The other thing that and why I can attest to this is I'm a big fan of prescribing. The partners don't come to you saying, I know how to market your product, I know how to sell your product, I know what the conversion rate's gonna be. They don't know any of that stuff. So it's our opportunity to control the narrative, to kind of give them direction. So what do you, and this is ties directly into onboarding at the very beginning, that 30, 60-day plan. What do you want them to do? Like, what do you want them to do? For me, it was market. I wanted them to do something. If I can get them to do something, then we found success. One of the previous organizations I worked for, when we signed up a customer, if they sent a campaign, their stickiness and their churn went way down within the first 90 days, because we got them to do something. Okay, so they're looking to you to know what to do. So the easiest one, welcome to the program. Share your excitement with the snippet that you guys saw. Make it your own. I just want them to do something. So get them to do something for you and for them. The one thing I would say is that in the first 6 months, keep it simple. If you think you're going to get this process right the first time, I mean, all of you have been in partners for the most part, so you know you're not going to get it right the first time. So just keep it simple. Track, understand what's working, what's not working, and talk to your partners. So as I mentioned before, too many people build out an onboarding structure and process before they really understand what the partners need. Do you know how many materials I built when I launched the partner program for the first 3 months? 0. I didn't create one piece of material. I brought in all these partners. I talked to all these partners and I said, what do you need? What piece of material would be valuable to you? Oh, I need a sales deck. Okay. I need this. I need that. I need this. Great. I took notes. After 3 months, I built all the ones they needed. And so now I know that I'm actually giving them stuff that they'll actually use. Okay. It's built without knowing exactly what you want them to do also. Again, we're building stuff thinking this is what they need. Get a deal. That is exactly what I hear when I ask somebody like, hey, what do you want partners to do? I want them to refer deals. I want them to refer customers. Sweet. How do you get them to do that? Right? All of us have probably heard this ratio. 70% our revenue comes from 70% of our revenue comes from 30% of our partners, which sucks, but it is what it is, right? And our job is to change that equation. It's not going to be perfect. It can't be perfect, and will never be perfect. I mean, look what happened with COVID, right? We probably all thought our processes were dialed in, and then COVID hit, and it was like, whoop, change some things up on you. E-commerce shoots to the roof, all this stuff changes. And now we're like, crap, I need to change how I'm doing things, right? We can't meet face to face. I can't go to events. I can't do this stuff. Do whatever you can. Don't get married to it. It will and should evolve. You should be looking at your partner program as literally something that will never be done. And when you look at it that way, it's super fun, because then you're like, oh, it's done. Now what do I do? If you're like me, I lose interest. When I know it's not done and I know there's another challenge out there, something else I can do, it's so much more powerful. So don't get married to it, because it would just create these weird emotions. Okay. Also, there's no perfect process. There's no this red or blue pill. If you talk to anybody on this call, we're going to have different tips and tricks that we use. Right? These are just the ones that I've used that allowed us to see acceleration. But more importantly, it allowed me to get everybody bought in. It allowed me to, again, that ties into the acceleration of the revenue and the partner count. But it also helped me understand, what the heck do my partners need? Because I don't want to just throw a bunch of crap in the resource center, be like, hey, here you go. And then they never use it, right? A bunch of wasted time. And then also what happens? My marketing team gets pissed off because I asked them to make all this stuff and then nobody's using it. So there's that perspective. Then I start losing their interest. Okay, final tip. We use PartnerStack. This is not a pitch on PartnerStack, but it was beneficial as far as our launch. I don't care who you use, all bound, whatever it may be, but leverage your PRM. You know how many partners are connected in your PRM's database? Freaking ton. And so I would go to Blaze, and every week I'd talk to Blaze and I'd say, who can you connect me with? You know what our partner profile is, our IPP. Who can you connect me with? Who should I be talking to? She would send me people like crazy. Like, oh, you should talk to this partner, this partner. They generated alone over 100 direct transfers to us. In addition to that, when you, and this isn't in here because I just thought of it, but for us, we can actually, we can ask for data on those partners. So I can be like, Blaze, I want to know what you have on our top 10 partners. What I don't need to know what programs they're a part of, nor would I probably ask that, because they probably wouldn't tell me, but like, what's their performance? How many people have they referred? Like all of that kind of stuff. And I was able to get that. So I kind of knew who were my potential top hitters as far as partners when I got new ones. Okay. But as stated before, don't try to do it on your own. Many have already done it through a partnership. You can tap into it. So don't do it on your own. There's plenty of people with databases that you can tap into in relationships. That is the whole point with relationships and partnerships, right? If I work with Gorgeous, we have a chance to cross that. If I work with PartnerStack, if I work with whoever it is, right? We have the chance to kind of share our databases. That's just the way it works, right? We're doing that with our friends over at Sendoso as well. We're trying to, right? And that to me is it. I probably jammed a lot of crap in about 30 minutes. So for that, I apologize. But that's really what I did. And as you can tell, all the stuff ties into one thing. The growth of my partner program was heavily based on company and executive alignment. So, and that's my LinkedIn. So let's connect. But I hope that was helpful. Hope that was useful.
That was like a total information download. Absolutely. I know that people have questions. So Justin, I know you had a couple set aside. We got 15 minutes. So let's for it.
Let's go. Let's do it. Speed run. So back at the beginning, you wrote down there was what you had the CEOs. I'm proposing trying to get alignment from my CTO and CEO to get into their LinkedIn, to get into their phone, to get, and I know they've got thousands of people they know, and they've been all over the place. One of my concerns, and I've got them to say yes, but based on where we're at Sales Message, I have so many things I'm doing, and from a bandwidth perspective, I'm wondering if I were to pull the trigger on sending all these partner emails out. I know we're going to get a ton of replies. So how would you fulfill on that? Like, what are the resources necessary? You've got 3,000, I would say, warm to hot lead referral partners in a certain way in that list. They start shooting yeses back to me. I'm already working 8 to 8. What else? How do you help me? What are we going to do here?
To me, that's where the application process came in, because initially Ross was just blasting me with just so many connections, and I'm just like, some of them were fit, some of them weren't, but it's what I asked for. I'm like, hey, send them away. And he's like, boom, 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 boom. And so what I started having him do is, even though he sent them to me, my response was, hey, let's schedule a call. But before we schedule that call, let's get your application done. So that way, at least the application, I get all this information as far as, are they a fit, are they not a fit? And it's a much quicker conversation, because at that point in time I can say, hey, based on what you guys do, tell me a little bit more of what you do, but we may or may not be a fit. Now, if you use the application process to be your barrier, it is extremely beneficial. We did not do that in the beginning, and I implemented that probably within the first 60 days.
Okay. One of my questions, which was in the chat, is there a link to where I can find that application page?
Yeah, just go apply. No, if you go to,
we're talking later, so that's a likelihood.
I know. Yeah. Just go to, always be selling, maropost.com/partners. And if you go click on just the commission for trusted advisor, that application will pop right up. Take all the questions. In all transparency, like, I built that question, but I also went to my competitors and I looked at what questions they were doing. So again, I've been doing it for 10 plus years, but like, there's no point in looking at what I can always learn. So I always look at my competitors, other individuals that have partner programs, and I take sweet questions they have.
I jump into other companies' onboardings all the time, and I'm always interested in what they do.
Oh yeah,
everybody does it. It's crazy. Like, we built out our entire like privacy policy, partner program agreement, all of it was just like, oh, we like this. Nope. Yep. We like this. And it was just like, why invent something when
the world's open source?
Yeah.
I completely forgot to even share the ActiveCampaign story. Like, when I first started, this program would be around for, I think, 2-3 years. They had no onboarding, period, nothing. So we built it from the ground up. And the way that we did it is we did one-on-one calls for 60 days, one-on-one calls. And we built it out to say 5 calls. We then dialed it down to 3 calls. And then we turned it one to many within 3 months. And we did a call Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the morning and in the afternoon to hit all time zones. But we had to go one-to-one to figure out, what did they need to hear? What did they need to be taught?
You know, that's funny. I just made a note. I feel like I crossed over out of like infantile partnership program. And I literally just wrote down, after doing one-on-one everything, I wouldn't know now what to automate and to put into place if I just didn't like skin my knees and meet with every person and hear everything, just the hard manual way.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing, like that I found as well, is like, there's no really way of avoiding that initial call. If you do get a connection from a CEO or anybody internally that is worth it, you got to get on a call with them. So you
correct.
Like, that's got to happen. However, building out the systems ahead of time, and to know, okay, after this call, I'm going to get them excited, I'm going to get all that stuff, but then there's a path I'm going to put them on, and a lot of that path is automated, right? So there's certain aspects you can automate, but you got to throw the charisma, excitement, in-person stuff right off the bat, right? But like using a partner stack or an Allbound or any of those, like, that's going to help you like really build out some of those automations, so that, like, okay, like, yeah, this fits like the bill for our partner. Here's the bucket we're going to put them in, and that bucket has a path already laid out. So plan as much of it ahead of time as possible, so that way you're just like directing partners to paths.
Oh, that's a good one. I have 2 questions. I'll try to make it quick so other people can talk. Well, one, that's actually how I met Wyatt. I've been manually prospecting for people and connecting with them based on kind of bunch of things, and so I reached out to him and got connected to him just through the old manual process, which he posted something about you, then I followed you, and now here I am. So hey, we're all one big happy family. But then back to questions. So you talked about how it was really important for you to tag your people in all those different partnership announcements. Question for you, are you keeping kind of like, with so many people, how are you keeping track of like new partnership leads, old partnership people? Like, do you have like kind of a swipe file of everybody's name that when you go launch? Because I've been trying to do that, but I'm like, oh, I just can't remember everybody at this point who I want to see this announcement. How do you keep that like viral partnership engine going with that tagging process?
Yeah, I mean, usually when I tag them, it's because we have something to tag about. And normally there's not necessarily something additional, although I've tagged my partners multiple times on different posts, depending on the content that I choose to share, right? So it could be that we have a new integration and that partner had asked about it. And so I'll tag them on the announcement of that integration. which now a lot of people in their network now see that same post and that integration, which has driven partnerships as well. As far as like managing lead flow and all that good stuff, I mean, we use our PRM, but which directly goes into our CRM. So that's where I manage all of that from and track all of that is just through that from a referral, even partnerships. Like we put all of our notes in currently HubSpot, soon to be Salesforce. We put everything in there as far as the conversations we're having, all the progressions. That way we can tag the partner to the deal, also the opportunity when that comes in. But again, it's a forcing function. Like I didn't have a choice. I had to automate it. Otherwise I'd be screwed. And I definitely dropped the ball on plenty of stuff in the beginning, unfortunately. But that means you just take a day and you go back to your emails a year ago and you basically just find the ones you missed, right?
Yeah, it catches your eye. One more question, guys. Just thank you so much for letting me have this time. So I guess I'm trying to move from, being the prospector part of the job, reaching out, seeing who might connect, a lot of like manual outreach, to more of looking at what you're doing, which is attracting, not chasing. And so can you tell me a little bit about the process you went through? Like maybe in the beginning, were you cold emailing, cold prospecting, finding leads, just hunting everything down? And then how did that all of a sudden become a vortex of pulling people in? And I think that's more of what you talked about here today is your vortex, and I'm kind of on the entering the vortex.
That should have been your title, Cory.
The vortex, how to get sucked into the vortex. So what we initially did is we went hard on content. We went so aggressive on just content, and I tried to get, so what we also did is I looked at, as soon as I launched the partner program, we had a series of like 40 app partners that we had built. And then there was 20 we had built and 20 that had built on us. Those are easy things to attack. I can get content up and get those live in weeks, right? And so that helped out too. But also once I launched the program, what happened was we had other app partners reach out to us and say, by the way, I have an integration with you guys. And we're like, how the heck did we not know this? And so that drove some conversation, but those are just quick wins. Leverage the current wins you have now, which are integrations. Also my sales team, which was one person, by the way, he had relationships. So I had him connect me with those relationships. So we were able to get a couple quick wins. From there, we did some of the Twitter activity, but I also recruited my sales guy to say, hey, when you sell somebody, should they be a partner? And when you're talking and going in your interwebs and things like that, who should we partner with? And the reason why is because he's getting the sales. So now he's like stoked because he's like, oh, I can go get partners and I can generate my own leads to these partners. And again, that's the why. Right now, it's his why. And so that was probably for the first 2 months, that's what we did is I tapped in our executive leadership team. I said, I need leads from every one of you who should be a fit. We have 3 programs. Here they are. I don't care what program they're a part of, just send them over and I'll have the conversations with them. And then I tapped into my relationship with our PRM and said, hey, who should we know? We didn't, and then they have this marketplace that you could turn on to where people can find you as well. 90% of them are just not fits, I would say, for us. And so I had to filter some of that out and clean some of that up. But now we're transitioned to where we have 350 partners. And now it's time where I actually have to go generate revenue because I can't just be like, yeah, we have more partners. So now it comes in my opinion, the harder part. That was the hard part, was getting that many partners. Now it's the harder part, which is getting them engaged and going. And I know that actually ties into the question that Jason has, like, what's the make of my team? On the marketing side, it's me and my partner manager. The 2 people, 350 partners, and
that's insane.
Yes, but that's where you as salespeople get to use your sales stuff, which is not like sales. And like, I'm not saying it in a bad way. It's like I can go and I can talk to my marketing team and say, hey, and it did, in all transparency, it did make it easier because my head of marketing is responsible also for the revenue number. Like they have some sort of connection to it, which means I can go and say, hey, we need to generate $10 million this year. What if we found a way to generate 5 million from our trusted advisors and app partners? And he's like, hell yeah, let's go. I'm like, all right, cool. This is what I need. And now you have that conversation. So now they're bought in. I get the sales reps to hunt trusted advisors and integrations. Now they're feeding me like, hey, this customer needs this integration. So now I'm hunting these integrations. And that's the goal is I take what I have, and I just hired John in May or June. And so there's a lot of stuff that I was trying to just automate and manually do. And obviously my goal is to increase, because I'm telling you guys like, oh, you need to know where your max is for your partner count. It's at 60 and I'm like at 350. But it's a work in progress, right? Like I still have to justify my head count, as I mentioned, those numbers. And what I'm dialing right now is we know new business, but we don't know expansion. We don't know churn or any of that stuff, but we couldn't because we didn't have a partner program. So now I'm dialing in those numbers so I can show margins. So I can say, hey, we're 70% profitable. We should go hire somebody because we're losing revenue, or we're da-da-da-da-da. Or my next move is probably not a PM. It's probably somebody to handle onboarding, in all transparency. It's like that one-to-one piece of the pie. So by the time they get to John, they've already accelerated. And so there's way less time he has to spend there. We can just go generate revenue.
Hey, Cory, can I just give you a great compliment? I think the two things you've done, we're a management consulting firm. We see this all the time with our clients. And the two things you've done that are best in class, first, you took an entrepreneurial approach. You didn't have someone else telling you what to do. You figured out what you needed to do. And then you told everybody else why that was a good idea. And the second thing you did is you don't need a big team if the rest of your organization is partnerized. You
yes.
partner with the rest of your organization. So now you have all these people who have KPIs that they share with you, and they do that because it serves them. Why does it serve them? Because you show them how partners help them get their job done. And that's how you avoid building a big team. So if everybody did what you did, we would have like a gigantic ecosystem play, and we'd have a bunch more CEOs who come from partnering, because that's what's going to happen.
Yes.
The next job you get is the CEO.
Oh, thank you. That's a big, so that's also, I'm glad you mentioned that, because the one thing I'd like to say is the only thing I want to build on my team is onboarding and sales. Partner product and partner marketing, I do not want on my team, because if I can get it on their team, now it's part of their team. Now I literally have infiltrated, in a good way, every organization in my company, from product, tech, to support, to success. So I don't want them on my team. So I did that. We came into ActiveCampaign. I'm like, nope, spread them out. You're over here, you're over here. And so I took them off my team and moved them onto other teams. And it was the right thing to do. But yeah, totally agree.
Right on. Good job.
Thanks.
We're at time, guys. If you have any more questions, Cory is not only on the CSA board, but he's also in the Slack community and always active and answering messages. So hit him up with questions. By the way, we do these every 2 weeks. So if you're not an executive member, please join us and support the CSA. And we'll make sure we keep curating these for you. Cory, thanks so much for doing this. It was amazing. It was like a total information download. Thanks a lot for doing it.
Awesome work, Cory. Great job,
Yeah,
man.
thanks for having me. Thank you.
All right, guys. Bye-bye.
See everyone.